Hello everybody and welcome to the Action Figure-atorium. My name is Mark Major. I'm a real big toy collector, and when I say big, I mean physically big. I'm a real big toy collector hunkered down here in Southeast Portland, and today I'm going to be talking about the sustainability of action figure review channels on YouTube. Now when I say sustainability, I don't mean like on a day-to-day personal kind of growth on the individual channel. I'm talking about keeping up with the Joneses. I'm talking about fulfilling all the things that YouTube wants you to do in terms of the algorithm, as well as trying to make it, trying to become into the mainstream and have a go at making this your livelihood, and how I do not think it is actually possible for an action figure channel to do it. I'm going to explain why I feel this way. I'm also going to be showing a very small clip from the 3PO podcast in which they talked to Sal from 2 Cent Toys, and he expresses what happened with his own personal burnout, and it is exactly the kind of thing that I felt. I'm also going to offer up a very, very short overview history of the Action Figure-atorium itself, and explain to you guys how the D-Amazing channel was the thing that took me from one way of thinking and put me on another way of thinking. So this is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be a lot of fun, but I think it's going to be a necessary thing that I believe a lot of people should hear. And if you could watch all the way to the end, I do have 3 sort of edicts, as they were, of what I think action figure review channels should be doing. So everybody come together, strap on the leather, and hold on tight. When the Action Figure-atorium started, it was, check this out, you guys are going to love this, it was in fact just a Twitter account going all the way back to 2010, and at the time you could not upload JPEGs to Twitter. Isn't that wild? We think of JPEGs, in fact videos, as being the kind of thing that's always been there, but it wasn't the case. There was, in fact, a third-party add-on called TwitPic that I installed, which allowed you to upload a JPEG to their servers, and then you could embed it in a tweet. So what I did was I made a channel called Action Figure-atorium, Twitter account essentially, but I made this account, and it was a picture of the day of an action figure using TwitPic, which I thought was kind of interesting at the time. You have to go back to 2010. You got to realize that we were still into sites like Am I Hot or Not, things like that. So not long after this Twitter account was launched, I then did a Tumblr account. A few years after that, me and some friends decided to build a studio here in Southeast Portland, a brick and mortar facility, a video facility. A few years after that, we expanded into a second room in the back, which is right over there. It's right behind me, the actual Action Figure-atorium itself, and we built a product photography psych wall table to shoot product photography on, as well as other things, stop motion or whatnot. I do all my sort of art stuff back there, and I decided to check this out. You may think this is where the YouTube channel, not yet. This is when I launched a Twitch channel. Now a lot of you are thinking, Mark, that sounds absolutely terrible, and you would be right. You would be right. What it was is I was doing live streams on Twitch in the studio here, in which I would have this cam going, right, that shows you kind of the room, and then I would have it set to auto switch to a second cam that would give you kind of a more of a close-up. You could see kind of the bench there and the camera and everything. And then I went so far as to have a third cam where you could actually see what the camera itself is doing. And it was on an auto switcher, and it would go between all 3 cams while I walked around. I had a wireless lav on. I could talk to people. Sometimes be music playing. Well, what happened was nobody was watching. I didn't even have bots in the channel, okay? That's how lonely it was. Now, I did make a YouTube account specifically to archive the Twitch streams. You see, unless you pay for Twitch, they delete your content after 2 weeks, so I made a YouTube channel so I could just upload this stuff and save it for whatever purpose. And by the way, there's no reason to save this stuff because it was garbage. But here's what happened, and here's kind of the story of how I changed what I was doing. Me and the girlfriend, we were binge watching The Amazing videos, right? And kind of a funny side note, she can never remember his name. She keeps referring to him as Amazing D, which I think that's kind of funny. But we were watching D Amazing, and something happened in the course of watching his videos that caused me to think differently. It changed my brainwave patterns, and I decided to get off of doing Twitch live streams and do more of the generic YouTube videos. Now, if you're going to be an action figure channel, most people think that what you should be doing or what they come up with for content is action figure reviews, and that's probably the bulk of what most action figure channels are, people talking about action figures, right? Here's where we get into the big let's discuss main topic. It is the sustainability of these action figure channels. You see, there is no way that you can create enough content by reviewing figures to keep up with what YouTube wants. And you start off and you try, and also in an attempt to try and get the really cool stuff that you think that people want to see, the amount of money you got to spend, there's just no way a person can keep up with it. And in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to play a very small clip from the 3POA podcast that I have queued up. And when we listen to what Sal from 2 Cents Toys has to say, I think you're going to get it, people. I think you're going to get it. And we're only going to watch for a couple minutes. But here we go. Let's check this out. Let me do my transitional effect.
Fortunately for myself, I'm sure other people have experienced it, but I had a YouTube channel for a while, and the two became synonymous, where I was buying shit I really didn't want because I was like, I need this for the channel kind of thing. And like, he's right here, so I'll use him as an example, like the Solomon Grundy, right?
Yeah.
Big fan of the Arkham games, one of my favorite versions of Batman, or really any of those characters. And it's like,
Never played it.
I want Solomon Grundy, but he was I don't know what the Build-A-Figure. I don't know what McFarlane calls them, but the Build-A-Figure, right? So I wanted Solomon Grundy.
Yeah.
And in that wave was a reissue of Batman, who I already had, Penguin, Ra's al Ghul, and Catwoman. And I'm like, I don't really want all of them. I know they're all important. I just wanted Solomon Grundy. But I'm like, well, I justify it because I'm like, well, I have Batman and Joker, so I should probably get Ra's al Ghul and Penguin and Catwoman from those games, and then got another Batman that I already had.
You don't
And
need
I'm like,
Batman.
okay, cool. Now I have the Solomon Grundy, who's the one I wanted, but I didn't really want the other three. But I justified it because I'm like, well, I'll talk about it on the channel, like, and I can't talk about Solomon Grundy without talking about the other figures. So all those figures have to get their own video, like a long form video with all the.
Okay, so we could keep going on that. He elaborates even more, tells more stories. He gets into being goes into being at the grocery store, buying groceries. While buying groceries, he's got 5 action figures that he's also paying for. He justifies it as being for the channel. And this is what I'm talking about. And this is what happens instantly when you try to become an action figure review channel that tries to play with the big dogs, where you try to go mainstream and you try to keep up with the algorithm and you keep pushing more and more content, because the more content you get, the more views, the more subscribers, the way you grow, and you realize that there's no way that you can pay for all this stuff, which is what happened to Sal. Is that he actually said at one point he needed to pay for, that's why he brought up the grocery shopping, he needed to actually eat. He needed to pay for groceries and not action figures, and he got out of it. I believe he has, I don't know, I haven't checked his channel, I don't know if he's, still doing some reviews, but you cannot go the long haul on the toys. Now, before I get to sort of my 3 kind of edicts, as I'm calling them, on action figure reviews, here is something I want to say that needs to be addressed. There are, in fact, a few cats out there a few, let's call them toy bros, whether that's a slang or a specific name, I don't know. Let's call these toy bros out there, right? There are a few cats that have enough disposable income in life to where they can absolutely buy everything. I mean, they can buy every single toy that comes out, and they do. Every time there's a new toy that drops, that people get it in hand, you see that they have it, and you see that they do reviews of it. Okay, let me tell you something about them. People who are rampant consumers, who buy everything for narcissistic purposes, just to be seen with the toys, they come off as just incredible consumer douchebags, okay? It is liked by a few people who simp, trying to be their friends and completely cheer them on. The majority of the people are repulsed by this type of behavior. You can't be like this. You've got to have some type of discernment. You have to have some kind of taste. You have to at some point tell people, no, I'm not buying this. It looks like garbage. I don't want it. I'm not into it. It doesn't do it for me, right? And what that means is that you're never going to be able to keep up with the Joneses as far as having an action figure review channel. So here is something that I would like to put forth on what I think action figure review channels should be about. First of all, there should be an acceptance, okay? An acceptance that you're not going to be the mainstream. You're going to be niche content, and within that niche content, you're going to be niche content. You're going to just try to follow a few brands, a few lines. Maybe it's just a few couple things like I do that I cherry pick. Now you notice when my intro comes up, it doesn't say reviews. It says collecting, photography, customs. There's nothing about reviews. I am not in any kind of denial about being some sort of a reviewer. I'm not. My reviews were terrible. I'm glad that I got out of them when I did, and when I do reviews, they're still terrible. And I only do it because I feel that maybe there's something in it that I might spark with people in my conversation, but I'm not really here to be a reviewer. But reviewers should have this kind of acceptance that they are going to be in their lane. Okay, number 2, you need to be a consumer of concernment. You need to show us that you have tastes. You need to show us that you have the ability to say no and to not be a narcissistic douchebag about trying to show off every single action figure that you bought, and to stop buying every single action figure that comes out there. It's actually repulsive behavior. It's not cool. It sucks. Okay, and number 3, as far as reviews go, we don't really care anymore about these altruistic designs that you have in terms of like, how does the deco rate? How does the sculpting rate? How does the articulation rate? How is the packaging? How many stars does it get? What you should be talking about, right, is the passion that drives you. What is the story that got you to buy the figure? Why did you pick it up? Was it because of the price? Was it because of something you saw that you had to have on it? Tell us what the fun factor is. What is it that you do with this thing? Some people buy toys, they take them out of the package, and they put it on the shelf, and they don't even know they own it. Some people buy toys, and they don't even take it out of the package. Ask yourself, how many people out there do you know, including yourself, have purchased a bunch of toys and they're just sitting around in bins in the boxes, you haven't even opened them yet, right? What is the fun factor behind these? If you've got a figure that you've never even opened, why are you even going to review it? Do us reviews, talk about the figures that you play with every day. I've got some figures that I can't stop posing and doing crazy things with. They have so much fun factor about them. Tell us those stories. Give us personal stories. Connect yourself with the audience. Don't worry necessarily about reviewing the toy. At the end of the day, nobody gives a shit about the toy. We really care about your own sort of personal enjoyment of things in life. So, that is it for this episode of the Action Figuratorium. Again, thanks to everybody who makes it this far in the video. You can like and subscribe on your own. You don't need me to tell you, but you do need me to tell you one thing, and that is this. Stay charged, people.